Chingusila Breakfast Show. This is the Friday edition. It is with great pleasure that I welcome back to the program the Honorable Minister for ICT, Savannah Mazia. Now, exactly 4 months ago, on the 19th of September, we did have her here on this very same platform in conversation about her ambitious vision for Eswatini's ICT sector. Now, at that time, she outlined her plans to not only transform government services for the benefit of citizens, but to also cultivate a new generation of tech leaders that is capable of driving innovation in this nation. A very, very important conversation we had. But fast forward to today. We are here barely 4 months later, reflecting on a landmark achievement that stands as a testament to a remarkable cadence, as well as a sense of urgency, if you will, in delivering results. Just 4 days ago, on Monday, January 20, 2025, the minister officially launched the Eswatini Google partnership, which was a groundbreaking collaboration that is poised to revolutionize how government services are delivered and to position Eswatini as a rising force in digital transformation. We have her in studio once again. We want to not only merely document the pledges that they make, but to also track the journey from promises to tangible outcomes. A very good morning to you. Congratulations on this impressive milestone that we saw on Monday. Perhaps to start off our conversation, let's share the deeply personal anecdote that you shared with the auditorium there and perhaps the digital audience that was watching. You shared a story around witnessing firsthand the erosion of dignity in a world that demands efficiency. That realization birthed a vision for you, a vision now made real. You know, can you take us back to that moment and share how it ignited this transformative journey in the Kingdom of Eswatini?
Thank you. I appreciate you having me here. So, you know, when I got this job, before I even came back into the country, I was very clear that the starting point is to really figure out how to serve the people and to make their lives easier. So on my couple of days when I was back here, I went to apply for a passport. And it was such an experience for me to see Bandla Batsala waiting in line. It was such a sad occasion for me, but in a sense it confirmed what I thought was happening and therefore really made me appreciate the plan. And I remember standing in that line waiting to be fingerprinted, that I was able to think of the name Government in Your Hand, that they all had their phones in their hands, right, talking to someone, perhaps sending a message whilst they're waiting in line. And I said, wouldn't it be great if government was visible, but also invisible, that it gave people the dignity of not just standing in line, that it gave people the safety of their information, but was also cost effective, but also made it accountable to people. I found that whole thing dignity stealing and time wasting, quite frankly. And there's no need in this time and age for us to still be treating our people in this particular manner. It's not fair.
It's quite interesting. You know, you listen to a lot of, as newsrooms, we love to listen to, you know, politicians around the world. Just listening to the new Botswana president, and he was reflecting on how he won the election, but he was quite dismayed with the voter turnout of particularly the youth. He highlights it as a vote of no confidence that the youth wasn't there because they do not have solutions that meet the youth with their native reality, which is, you know, the digital landscape that we are in. And so, you know, I want again to extend plaudits and applaud this government in your hand, you know, idea and, you know, the story with which you share it. But this particular development, this Google partnership, we understand that big tech players are drawn to big markets. Which begs quite, you know, an interesting question. South Africa has 60 million people, Nigeria 200 plus million. But how did you convince Google to come to Eswatini with our modest population?
It was hard. It was really hard. It took many meetings. Someone said to me the other day, wow, you travel a lot. And I said, you know, people don't understand how much work it took to get it and how much face time one had to give. To be able to convince boards, to be able to convince management, to be able to convince global players who are very particular about their brand association. Google in Africa deals mainly with the private sector. So for them to be able to make that decision globally to say, we'll take this chance, took a lot of convincing. It was really blood, sweat, and tears. But for me, it was important because we need those credible companies investing and being brand associated with us. Because, a rising ship lifts all boats. And so this particular ship that's up there will certainly make us punch above our waist, above our weight, and everybody will be able to look and say, who is in Eswatini? What's happening over there?
Of course.
And as we bring more and more brands, which we will be able to show that we are worthy, and we will be able to show the youth. But most importantly, we'll be able to open up opportunities for the youth. This whole exercise is to be able to open up opportunities for the youth, but also for everybody in the country. Everybody deserves better. And so we want to be able to be part of that exercise to provide better.
Yeah, and I'm sure our viewers at home obviously understand why you are emphasizing on the youth just by studying our demographic dividend in Eswatini. Obviously, the future is the youth and the future is digital. So I'm sure they do understand that coherency there. You have mentioned something very, very important in terms of, what will elevate Eswatini's positioning, not only in Africa, but globally. We are the first nation to forge such a pioneering partnership with Google. I want to understand what this symbolizes for the kingdom and how you believe that it will recalibrate Eswatini's place in the global stage of innovation.
Well, in that global stage, everybody wants to be first. And whether we like it or not, the world is going in that direction. We can either be part of it, be part of the leadership of it, or we can stay behind and really be forgotten. And as you mentioned, 1.2 million people, that's an easy way to be forgotten in this new age that's coming. So my position, and I think that that's what the ministry is also working with me to do, is to say, if this is something that's going to happen, why not be proactive? Why not be part of the script writer in that environment? So we have looked to say we want to be able to work with the best in the world so that we then understand that we are the best. We also want to work with people who have done things before. Sometimes I find that we come with investors that are just chancing, taking stories and looking more for tenders and really coming to work and bring us up. So we want to work with the best in the world who would show us the mistakes that they've made so that we can learn from them and we get to where we need to get to faster. Because we also don't want to have fatigue and things don't happen and people are still waiting and waiting and waiting. If you say something, do it. Be impeccable with your word. Respect people with your word. So people like Google and others that we're going to bring on board allow us the opportunity to be able to have that experience, that exposure, and really get all the benefit that this relationship brings. I mean, one of the most important benefits will be we're going to give free education on Google classes, right? We're going to have a Google Academy.
It's impressive.
Right? And so what that's going to do is Swazi children will be able, and everybody else, by the way, to attend these classes free of charge so that they can participate in the world of AI, of cybersecurity, of large language models, cloud, all of that free of charge. This will minimize the cybersecurity issues that we're dealing with right now, but also will give everybody a tool to have to participate in the future.
I'm happy that, this keeps getting validated, this notion of this partnership being the biggest gig in town, in the sense that, it is supposedly the biggest thing that has happened in government in a while. You mentioned free Google, the Google Academy, which is going to be free. And someone listening at home, which, by the way, there is, some skepticism that we are hearing outside from, let me say, a minor group of people or players in the tech space. So part of what I did preparing for this interview was I spoke to, the people that are immediately affected by this development. I can tell you now that over 95% are confident about this development. But, there is that very few that is still skeptic about, it sounds too good to be true. And, we know that African members of parliament have done a great deal of, doing bad governance sometimes, such that when real and earnest happenings happen, there's that sense of anxiety and consternation. Is this really happening? So, I want you to speak to us about these benefits towards that shop owner in Guavuma, that student in Babane, of course, this free education that you've spoken about, the tangible changes that will soon be experienced by these people.
Yeah. You know, you just talk about the issue of people being skeptical. And I like skeptics because I think they keep us all on our toes.
Right.
But also, I think as African governments, we've really badgered people. It's a difference between us and some other parts of the world where if you say, let's do this, they go, yes, let's do it. What I found in Eswatini is when I say we can do this, oh, it's not going to happen. I'll tell you why you're going to fail. So I hope that we start to shift that mind to say everything is possible if we just believe in it coming to pass. But here's the differentiator, is that you're talking about what are the benefits. I'll give you some simple benefits for these people that you mentioned. We have a problem with how we've planned our cities and our towns and how we've planned Lapo Emakaya.
Right.
So people don't have physical addresses. So they cannot receive something that's been couriered to them. Part of the success of this is we'll be one of the few countries in the world that has digital addresses. So that you can have your own digital address that you just give someone and they can right into your backyard, right? And things can be delivered e-commerce wise. All of a sudden our e-commerce business starts to grow. Right? And those that are going to open businesses by taking classes and having certification, all of a sudden have access to the entire world, not just 1.2 million people.
Right.
So what we're doing is we're removing all the strangleholds that make everybody think the only solution is government. To give our future to the world, but also the world to us for the future. The second thing that I think that's really critical is understanding that there's been some complaints about how will Google be able to make this happen when there is a very weak network. Well, we're strengthening the network. We're working with EPTC and EEC to make a big network, to extend the capacity of the network and to cover every single corner of this country. In the next 24 months, every single corner of this country will have fiber optic. And people will say it's not going to happen. I guarantee you, it's going to happen. And all of a sudden, if we've got data centers, we've got the capacity. We've got investors, we've got the capacity. If we've got robotics, we've got the capacity. We will put in more capacity than we need so that for the future, we are prepared. And then we talk about capacity building. If we want to be able to have anyone working, whether in Eswatini or wherever else that they want to work, we must have capacity. And even if you're never going to work in the area of ICT, the future demands that you have the skills in this area. And that's why we're offering the free education. The other thing that's really important to appreciate is more than 50% of the careers that we have today, as you and I are talking, will not be here in 10 years' time. And unfortunately, we are still training and educating our children for past careers, and we're guaranteeing that they'll have no future. So what we're doing as the ministry is saying, let's give you these free courses. Take them, pass, have something, some tool for you to be able to manage in the future. And that's important. I mean, one of the other things that Google's going to open is we have a lot of children here, or other people, I should not just only focus on the youth, who do content, right, but don't get paid for it. And yet there's big money in content creation. You and I know this. And so Google owns YouTube. All of a sudden we open up and unlock that opportunity. They're able to participate, but also get paid. And so we keep removing people from depending on the regular traditional jobs. We remove people from depending on government for resources. We make them the people who have their own fate in their own hands.
As a form of, empirical evidence, even if it's only spoken right now and there are no visuals, to what you're saying about, content creation and the value and the potential that it has. I do have a very, very close mutual friend who quit school and focused on YouTube, and I can tell you right now, he is considered a millionaire. You look at his house, you look at some of the assets that he has accumulated just from YouTube content creation right here in South Africa, not even so far away. Just right here in South Africa. Very important. You've spoken on the unmined goldfield for Eswatini, which is e-commerce. Big conversation also happening under the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade on that front. So I understand the collaborative work that you guys need to do there. But, the World Economic Forum is underway right now. I was just watching yesterday, E.J. Mene, the Secretary General of the AFCFTA Secretariat. It was 2018 when President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the AFCFTA. Only 7 years later, E.J. Mene yesterday announces that there's a new protocol, which is the digital protocol on digital trade. Very important. He speaks on a lot of things that are in alignment with what you have done just, this week and over the past year. Let's talk about, what immense opportunities will open, that you think will open from this digital trade protocol under the AFCFTA. I mean, Africa is big. As we continue to bolster intra-African trade, surely we are going to thrive.
Well, as a continent, we have the highest entrepreneurial rates in the world, but we don't have that in Eswatini because we've kind of locked and gridlocked the opportunities. Do you know why that took so long to be able to be agreed? Is because as Africans, we don't seem to have the culture of working together for our own good. And if we can also have that mind change, we as a ministry will succeed in the bringing on board of government in your hand if ministries work with us, if they support us, because we are really a service ministry, right? So we don't do passports, we don't do driver's licenses, we don't do any of these services. We will just be an enabler for ministries to have these services integrated. Because once we also have these services integrated, it minimizes corruption. It minimizes government not being accountable. Because if you know that you gave it on this day, you can track them almost the way people track Uber. That's what we're going to be able to introduce.
Yeah.
It minimizes the fact that we're not being tracked on how we deliver work to the citizens. And all of a sudden, it becomes clear that as government employees, we work for the people, as opposed to the other way around. We've got to beg people for a service where we pay tax for. So that's really critical. But part of the success of government in your hand is that it's not just the government services that we're going to bring to bear. We're also going to bring in other services that actually support government, but also support the private sector, because the private sector is here and wants to be supported and wants to be able to have trust in government and wants to be able to be given the opportunities. So we extend bandwidth, which we've done already. We continue to extend it. We extend everything to do with whatever they require for connectivity, like what we're talking about with the issue of fiber optic, but also the microwaves that reach areas that are really difficult to reach. It makes no sense to me that we still refer to places that don't have any coverage because there's no commercial activity. Guess what? You extend the coverage and then there's commercial activity. Build it and they will come.
Yeah, very comprehensive, that submission there. If you will allow me, a tangent into another tech development that I know you are passionate about. And even though you are not really telling us a lot right now, I know that you're working on, because we did see you on the 11th of September 2024. That was 2 days after you were with us here. You flew to the UAE. You had conversations around AI. You attended some very important AI initiatives happening there. It has brought incredible opportunities, this rise of AI, but also some challenges. As the Kingdom of Eswatini, how do we plan to integrate advanced technologies like this AI? How are we preparing to embrace it in ways that are safe? I think that is very important, because if you watch a lot of, those UAE conversations, they speak around safety quite a lot, but also inclusive, something that you're passionate about, and forward thinking.
Yeah. So we go to the UAE a lot because they actually are one of the few people that I can talk to and get a lot out of. So every time I go, the return on investment is very high for us as a country. But also because security, cybersecurity is the lead for them. So why not learn from the best? Why not partner with the best? So that as we are developing our own government in your hand, we also introduce cybersecurity that is military-like. We're talking about our cybersecurity when we're done with it, will be blockchain-based. So that's really important, because that really tightens up what we're trying to secure. On the other side, we talk about why did we bring Google in? Someone was saying to me, oh, but Google's going to steal up all our information. Google's business, and they would close down tomorrow if they were able to sell somebody's information. Their business model is based on ensuring that cloud is always tight. So we want to be able to be with those people. So it is unfortunate that we start saying these statements, not knowing what business models are like. The UAE is also important because just think about this. We signed an agreement with them in September of last year, towards the end of September last year. Look at what we've done. We've trained 50 teachers, 50 teachers in this country in AI, right? And 75% of those teachers came from rural areas. We also had disabled teachers who are also participating in this. So it's inclusive, as you kept talking about earlier. We've also been able to take 6 people to the UAE to train about cybersecurity, just to specify that. And that included police officers, because they're important in the scheme, because if they're going to be investigating anything in this particular area, they have to be able to know what they're talking about. But what we must appreciate in Eswatini is cybersecurity will always be a problem, because there are people who have it as a job to steal from others. So it's a continuum, it's not a destination. We have to continuously train, continuously get to know what they're doing, because they're getting better and better at what they're doing. But we really need to be able to understand that our mantra is everything we do must be secure. Everything we do must be reliable and trustworthy. Everything we do must be fast and cost effective.
And the irrefutable fact there is that should be the starting end of that, policy starting point, writing down the laws that speak to that. And I'm happy that you speak to that, because if the last 2 decades have taught us anything, it is that, agility and resilience are twin pillars of sustainable growth. And I want to speak about policy. We did have part of the panelists on Monday, Jose Rego, who is a very, very avid tech leader, speaking on, some of the archaic policies that continue to exist and therefore impeding some of the developments they want to forge into the ICT space. How are you shaping policy to ensure that Eswatini not only keeps up with, the pace with the world's advanced economies, but carves its own competitive edge?
Policy should not be put together out of fear. Policy must be put together to open up opportunities in a safe manner. So we are looking at our own policies and saying, are they safe? But most importantly, are they opening up opportunities? There's no point in having laws that strangle the economy, that strangle those who are already in it and those who are trying to get in it. The relationship, again, with the UAE, which I like to be able to refer to every so often, is we've discussed with them that we're going to take our own legal people there to train and see how they can be part of understanding the new laws, the AI laws, the crypto laws, the space laws, all these laws, because they've done it. We don't have that expansive knowledge in the legal fraternity. We also don't have the money to pay for it, quite frankly. So we're doing it with them free of charge. I'm looking for folks who are going to be friends and family, who are going to give me stuff free of charge, because the ministry literally has no money. A lot of the money goes to salaries. So it would be foolish and folly for me to think we'll wait for the money to come and we'll be able to move. We'll be doing nothing, just drinking coffee. So our position is we want to build policy that is going to be enabling. And we're going to sit down and look at all that policy and say, what can we do in this space? But also, how do we create new policy that's really future thinking? Because if we can just not be afraid of the future, if we just open up, as Africans, we were the highest uptake and the fastest uptake in cell phones. And look how it's changed our lives. So if we can just be able to work on understanding that we must open up the future for our children and for people in this country, for them to live a life where they are the masters of their own fate, that would be a win, I think, in my book.
Absolutely. Well, Honorable Minister, as we close, it's worth noting that in exactly 123 days, you've taken something that you shared here, a vision that you shared on this very same platform. Exactly 123 days. you've turned it into a reality. And, you know, if this cadence is anything to go by, it is showing us that the possibilities ahead are boundless. And with those words, I want to congratulate you, the PS of Ministry of ICT, the whole ministry really, because I know that you are big on teamwork, on this great feat and the many opportunities that are coming ahead. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
The Minister of ICT, Honorable Savannah Mazia, giving us her voice on what we have enjoyed on Monday and we will continue to enjoy for a lifetime in terms of the tech advancements in Eswatini. Indeed, our future is digital. And let's stop with the skepticism. Let's work together. This has been the end of our program today. Kusile Breakfast Show, the Friday edition. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.